Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. We've got a news story that's not even publicly listed yet, which is quite unique for the companies that I usually host on the show. But the company has done some great things as a private company, and I think that's put them in a great position for the future. One of the things that really impressed me when I first started learning about Borealis Mining was that there is a very large alteration zone on the project, 20 kilometers, which makes it one of the square kilometers, which
Square
makes
miles.
square miles, which makes it one of the largest alteration zones in all of Nevada. And then I also looked at a report, scientific paper on the project, and there is geological similarities to Yanacocha. Yanacocha is South America's best gold mine, and so I'm pretty excited about Borealis Mining. Kelly Malcolm, thanks a lot for joining us.
Super good pleasure to be here, Alan. I'm very, very excited. And as you know, we've talked about this for months, probably ad nausea at this point, but really, really glad to be doing this on a public forum. And I think this is my first, as CEO of Borealis, first public recorded presentation. So super happy that it's you that's giving it to us.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And you know, Kelly, that saying in the mining business that big systems leave big footprints, really stands out to me on this project that you have in Nevada. But before we get into some of the technical stuff, a private company, you in a market that's been challenging to raise money, you guys have raised $15 million, and you've at 50 cents a share, and you put together a tremendous board of directors, and you have a great new big investor in your company. So let's touch on some of those things, and then we'll get into the big footprint system leaving a big footprint.
Cool, man. So yeah, we built this up over the last little while. I bought a gold mine, which sounds bizarre, and it's a dream of every geologist to be able to do something like that. So I bought a gold mine that's under care and maintenance, but fully permitted, and we'll take a look at that in a minute with Verify. Fully permitted project. We paid $100,000 cash, and assumed operatorship of that project, which was obviously a pretty scary endeavor for us, because there's liabilities and there's costs and there's all these other things that come along with that. But the best thing that comes along with that is I can actually go mine gold tomorrow and pour gold, and we've poured gold since acquisition. So that's kind of the backstory. And then the other part of the acquisition, so it was $100,000 cash, and then on my listing date, which fingers crossed should be happening quite soon, I'm to issue 19.9% of my securities to the vendors who were Waterton Global Asset Managers. It's a private equity fund that has owned a ton of different projects in Nevada. They're liquidating their fund, so I was looking for an exit position for them. You had actually introduced me to Rob McEwen, so thank you again and again and again and again and again for that. And Rob, we had our meeting with him, and he said, I thought we were hoping he was going to write $1 million or something into the deal. And he came back the next morning and said, I want to buy 20% of the company, and I want to take their whole position. And I can't say the exact number, but it's better than $5 or $6 million that he wrote to acquire that position. So really, really, really big stamp of approval. And then in terms of the board,
That was
sorry, go
very
ahead, Allan.
exciting to replace Waterton with such a legend in the mining business,
Yeah,
Rob McEwen, as your lead shareholder now.
I am floored. It was spectacular. One of the more exciting things that's in my life. It's one of the most exciting things that I think we've set up we've set ourselves up for success in a big way, swapping those two and getting Rob's insights. And it's like the guy's built billion-dollar companies on a it kind of feels like a biannual basis he does that.
And
So
you know,
super
his
excited.
real one of the things that he's really adept at is as an investor outside of building companies, but as an investor in the sector. So for him to recognize the quality of the project and want to become a big shareholder, I think is he's not a sort of shoot with a shotgun kind of guy. He's more of a sniper with the rifle. So it's good to have his endorsement.
I totally agree. The other really great, I'll talk about the board in a second, but the other really great shareholder we got is Eric Sprott, another legendary billionaire in the mining space. So he's in there for about 7 or 8%. Rob's there for 20. Number of great institutions have put big money into the company. So we've got some really great people as shareholders. But our team is one of the reasons that we were able to get all these different people into the company, aside from the tremendous geology and exploration potential that we'll talk about, and also our grander strategy, which we can also, maybe we won't even get into all that stuff today, Alan. That sounds like we're gearing up for one of our 4-hour discussions here,
We'll
but
see where it goes.
we'll see where it goes. So yeah, we got the project. And then we got really probably the best board I've ever seen for a company under $50 million valuation. I don't think that there's anyone else out there that has anyone of the same ilk. So our chairman of the company is Tony McCooch of Kirkland Lake Gold fame. He also sold Lakeshore Resources to Tahoe. He's a mining legend as an operator and has built, well, Kirkland Lake Gold was sold for $14 billion. I think you got in there at it was like a $600 million company or something when he took it over. So truly a mining legend in Tony. And many people don't know it, but he also has deep Nevada experience as well in one of his earlier days with Dynatech, which was a company not as big of a win as the other ones, but he operated mines throughout Nevada. So he's got deep mining experience there. And then the other really legendary guy that we've got on the board is Bob Buchan. Bob is the founder of Kinross Gold. So Bob built that company from the early 90s through to, I believe he retired in around 2004. When he retired, it was the 6th biggest gold company globally. So another, not only mine builder and value creator, but billion-dollar company creator as well. We've got Greg Gibson on the board. Greg, you've probably seen, if you've been following IM Gold, they've been building the Cote Lake project.
Yeah.
That was Greg Gibson's company. He sold that to IM Gold in around 2011 for $600 million. And that was from something to nothing. That was a $5 million company that he sold for $600 million. Then he went to work with Eric Sprott for a number of years. He was the president of Jarrett Canyon Mining, Greg, which was sold privately to First Majestic Silver recently. Again, deep Nevada experience, deep value creation experience. We've got Christina McCarthy on the board. Christina, you know well, and your subscribers would know well, had a really big win and a fast win in Paycore Minerals. She built that, listed it, and it was sold within 9 months of trading, which is wild. It doesn't happen often. And
No.
the cool thing, if you look at her chart, I'm sure you've shown people that there's not a single person that's ever invested in Christina's company that lost money. In fact, every single person that ever played in that deal made money, which again doesn't happen often.
Yeah, she was a great sponsor, and I talked about the company a lot. And I'm a really bull on Nevada, obviously.
Yeah, I'm bullish on Christina, to be honest with you. I think she's a
Yeah,
great
me too.
geologist and a really good pragmatic business person as well. So really happy to have her involved. She's been to site twice, and actually we'll see when we list. We did a podcast for CEO.ca on site. We're holding on to that one until it goes public, but it was the CEO.ca group and myself and Christina. And it's a really great discussion on site, really wicked backdrop. So
Oh,
I can't wait to get that out to market. And then the other really important player and a good mentor of mine that's kind of guided me in my career as well is Rich Patricio. Richard is a co-founder of Next Gen Energy. He controls 20 million shares through his public vehicle, Mega Uranium. Rich has also founded companies like ISO Energy, deep experience in value creation as well. Next Gen, as you know, is the biggest and best undeveloped, I would say, project in the world.
Yeah,
Not
maybe if you
uranium
look
project.
at the grades and the cost, it could be
Yeah.
one of the best of any mineral out there.
It's beyond a tier one asset. It's a universe class project. Anyway, so great, like really great experience from up top on the board level, and I'm on the board as well. I'm the the least exciting of the bunch, but
I don't know
I'm
about
definitely the
that,
most
Kelly.
active of the bunch.
You're a modest guy. You've done very well for yourself in the mining business from your days with the mine there. I forget, it's
Detour Lake.
Detour Lake.
Yeah.
And then with you found a lot of gold for Amex exploration, and now you've decided to jump into the board seat and be the leader. And you know, as you were explaining all those people, Kelly, it all comes down to the quality of the project.
Yeah.
If you didn't have that project, you
We
wouldn't
wouldn't
have
have
been
got the
able
board.
to track that team. And
Mm.
also, you're a very astute follower of the business. To raise $15 million in the last 6 months to a year, it's been very challenging for exploration, development, mining companies. And so that also speaks to the quality of the project.
Yep. I don't, again, that's kind of a tooting my own horn thing, but yes, it certainly speaks to the quality of the project, the team. Really, the money's been really hard to come by up until the last maybe week or two since gold started running. Everyone got excited again. I haven't seen many big financing, so we I will agree we did a great job on that front and did it at a good valuation. So we're going to come live around $40 million market cap with 8+ million in cash. A historical resource of better than 2 million ounces, a fully permitted mine. We pour gold on site from our ADR facility. We've got a lot of things going. But before we move on to the project, I want to also talk about my my young and hungry team on the
Oh,
ground, Allan, because I
yeah.
think that's important, and I think that is something that got Rob excited too. Was so we've got some deep decades of experience on the board level. And then on our management team, we've got lesser experience, but still better than 15 years between each of the three key players. So that's myself, Andreas Steckenborn, our COO, and Ian Campbell, our VP Exploration. So those guys I worked with.
Andreas has had quite a career building mines with Detour and Cote Lake.
And also a big iron ore mine in Finland, I think, and something else, a fluorite mine or something funny on the west coast of Canada or east coast of Canada. Yeah, so Andreas is a mining engineer. We actually, Ian, Andreas, and I all worked together in our first ever summer student job, soil sampling. So we all were out in the bush together. Obviously, you get to know people pretty darn well when there's a million flies around you. You're sweating. You're once in a while bleeding from the odd cut. You get to know people's character pretty quickly in those types of situations, especially stuck in the woods together for 3 weeks on end, same days, same guys, same talk, same discussion. So, anyways, I really got to know and respect the two of them. And then Andreas and I actually were the ones that started looking at this project back, I don't know, a year or so ago, and then presented it to some other people that I know that help finance things. And then Ian kind of came in, helped with our DD as we were advancing it, and he said, "This is amazing. I'm in." So that's kind of how the team all formed.
And
So
Ian's expertise is on the resource building side of the
hmm,
business. So you've got a mine operator builder, you've got you as an exploration geologist, and a resource growth guy.
yeah, so he started out as a mine geologist. He was in the pit daily mapping out blasts and muck, and then moved his way up to become the senior resource geo for Agnico Eagle after the takeover at Kirkland Lake, And so he's got a really cool skill set in that he can look at things on a data level. Like that's what resource geology is data collection and data crunching and evaluating trends and ideas. So between my kind of conventional exploration expertise, or not expertise, but skill set, and Ian's side of things, I think we're going to come up with some really cool targets. And the other neat thing about having Ian in the VPX role is we're not going to be wasting meters. So when we find something, he'll know you have to drill it at 45-meter centers, you have to drill it at this angle, you have to do this, you have to do this many duplicates, or tighten up a hole here or there. So we won't be wasting time and effort, because this is a permitted mine. We want to actually mine this thing quickly. We don't want this to be a takeover anytime soon. We want to blast, crush, stack, pour gold from this project, which many other people don't actively want to do. And that's also one of the reasons that we were able to bring in the big board that we've got. Allan
And
is
it's much needed in the business these days, Kelly, because that 2001 to 2011 bull market kind of wiped out all the mid tiers and the developers, and there's not enough developers and small miners in the business,
yeah.
which puts you in a unique position because projects that are not big enough for the major mining companies could be company makers, and it's sort of like you've got a carte blanche to look at those size of projects to build the company on. So I'm pretty happy to be involved with that kind of thing. I like the business of, over my career, I've seen some great companies grow from small to big. And I think that's what's in your future. And as they say in basketball, you guys have a deep bench from the
We
board
do.
of directors all the way down to the guys on the ground.
Yeah. And then even our GOT, anyways, we've got a really, people is something that we're not in. No one could ever look at our group and say, ooh, I wish you had someone else there with some more experience. That's impossible. But
Now, on the Nevada specific, Ewan Downey, who runs I-80 Gold, is a good friend of mine, and we've had lots of conversations about sort of the transition that we're seeing in Nevada, where, all those easy to find oxide deposits have been found, and most of them have been mined. And there's going to be a transition to the sulfide deposits below the oxides.
mhm.
But you guys have quite a unique situation in that there's lots of oxides still on your property, plus some very high grades below in the sulfides. So you've got a bit of a best of both worlds situation there in Nevada at the Borealis mine.
Yeah, so I and I'll add one other thing in there, Allan, that other people don't typically do in Nevada is exploration undercover. So yes, everyone's looking for exposed oxide deposits, and you know what? I think that we'll probably find one or two still on Borealis. When we look at Verify, I'll show you. You can almost see where they're going to be, but the it's a horse and grabbing type environment. If you ever look at a topographic map of Nevada, it's really funny looking. It looks almost like an ocean. There's mountain range valley, and it goes for the whole state.
Yeah.
And when you look at the map of the gold deposits, it goes line, line, line. Nobody looks for gold undercover here, because why would you historically when you have hundreds of millions of ounces sitting there exposed at surface?
In the
But
outcropping rock.
on our property, I've shown you on the Verify before, we'll show the audience as well. The best producer historically on this project was an undercover, not under much cover, under 5, 10, 15 meters of pediment cover, but still literally a buried gold deposit. And no one looks for those, because why would you? But coming for me, coming, and even from you and coming from Thunder Bay, and myself coming from the Abitibi, we don't ever get the chance to look for gold at surface. So we're used to being a bit creative and poking some holes through cover. So that's another opportunity that I don't think is really looked at. Like even Silicon, the big Anglo thing, that was an outcrop discovery, but it was an outcrop discovery of a barren silica cap, but it was still outcropping. That
Yeah.
was not it's a deeper discovery, but it was an outcropping deeper discovery. So and like that's one of the best discoveries to come out of Nevada in the past decade or so, the Anglo one,
Yep.
and that was still an outcropping gold discovery. So there's vast potential here, and I
It
agree with
kind
you
of
in that we do
surprises
have to
me.
look at sulfides, but I would say the thing that's really exciting about looking at sulfides in Nevada compared to most other places in North America is there are permitted roasters and permitted autoclaves in the state where that doesn't happen anywhere else. So you can find your sulfide, you can burn off the refractory elements, which is virtually what a roaster is doing, and it becomes non-refractory. It becomes the same as Timmins or the big porphyries in BC. It's non-refractory gold after that point. So as long as you're aware of the fact that you're not going to be doing that with 1 gram material and you're looking for 4, 5, 6 gram stuff, why wouldn't you look at that
And
if
Kelly,
it makes sense?
what's the future of mining in Nevada if you don't start getting out of the oxides and into the sulfides?
I'm with you. I think that I think globally everyone's looking a bit further afield. I still think there's going to be some big, I don't know that you're going to find 10 million ounces sitting at the surface anymore. I just don't, with all the advances in hyperspectral technology and all the drones and just the fact that everyone's kind of walked the state, I doubt someone's going to find a new 10 million ounce, 15 million ounce at surface oxide gold deposit that you can just shovel off and start mining. It just doesn't seem, I'm not gonna say it's never gonna happen, but it'd be pretty darn surprising.
Not at the scale that it has happened over the last
No.
40 or 50 years.
I just couldn't see that. But could you find 500,000 ounces? 1 million ounces? Probably.
Yep.
Doesn't take much of a footprint to find a 500,000 ounce gold deposit.
Well, speaking of footprints, that's what really got me excited about this project, Kelly, because,
Sure.
as I said earlier, big systems leave big footprints. And when you were showing me this project right away, I could see the alteration from Google Earth and its vast alteration. But something else you said that really excited me about the project is as you follow that mineralization, it just sort of stops at the covered area,
Mhm.
except at the area where they went under thin cover, and it was the best pit that was on this project. And
Yeah.
so not only do you have this ridge of alteration, but it tells you that right beside that, in the thinly covered area, there should be more oxide deposits, and there's structures going through there. It it really impressed me, the potential to mine underneath the cover and also the sulfide. So maybe we
Yeah, but
should
also I also do well, I'll show you where I think there's going to be also parallel oxide deposits on the same trends. But I think all these things are amazing. And Christina actually, when she was there, she said the same thing. She's like, holy shit, look at all that blanket that's there. That's it's pretty incredible. And I know
sticks
that
out
it
like a
excited all of
sore
us.
thumb.
Certainly excited me.
Why don't we switch to verify so we can show some people this stuff that we're talking about?
Happily. Okay, so Alan, you can see this. Just minimize this a little bit to maximize my window. Can you see this well, Alan?
Yep,
Does it show up
no
nicely?
problem.
So this is Borealis. This is my baby. My dreams of grandeur are right in
So
front of us here.
Freedom Flats there, that's the best pit that they had in
That's
the
right. So
historical production.
that was actually, and you can see the pediment cover, so you can just see it by the vegetation. So there's your outcropping mountains, and then kind of as far as the eye can see, you get this flat, lighter colored area, which is just overburden or material that's sloughed off of the mountain range. So the Freedom Flats pit, sorry, I'm spinning around a bit too much. Freedom Flats pit was just under 200,000 ounces of historical production at just under 5 grams per ton oxide, which is bonkers grade for an oxide gold deposit.
What's the
I
grade
know you
again,
love the word
Kelly?
cash machine. That is a cash machine.
What was the
Um,
grade again?
just under 5 grams.
So these days, half a gram is what they're
Yep.
mining in a lot of open pits. So, and it still looks like there's more material left there you can see the alteration in I think that's the southern part of the pit.
Yeah, we'll go inside the pit in a second and I'll show you what's existing. So I'll just have to give my legalese caveat.
Oh,
So there's a 2011 pre-feasibility study done on this project, much of which all of the other reserves from that still remain in situ. Unfortunately, the regulators are requiring me to call it a historic reserve. So when I talk about what's still in the ground, it's from that document, but it's not considered current, just as my nerdy little add-on there, Alan. But
no worries.
in that study, yes, there's plenty of ore still remaining in that pit. Plenty of ore remaining in this pit, that pit,
So they kind of
over
line up
in these pits.
what they mine there, right, Kelly?
Yeah, so the trend, and maybe the next chat we have, we can look at the presentation because I can show you the geological maps better. But there's the Northeast Ridge pit right up here. There's a pit called East Ridge that is ready for exploitation. Right under this is actually the operators, this is the Borealis pit. This was the original discovery right here. And they actually took some of the waste rock from this pit and filled in that Borealis pit. But it's a beautiful linear trend of deposits. And what I find nuts, and I'm probably going to have to do it because it's going to bug me if I don't show you, but the geological map, let's flip to that 1 second if you don't mind, Alan, just because I just want to set the stage before we look at this.
All right.
One quick moment here. You can see this one now, Alan?
Yep. Your presentation.
So
Yeah.
we'll just look at this quickly. So here's those pits we just looked at. Freedom Flats, Borealis, East Ridge, and Northeast Ridge. So there's that trend. It's a little bit kinked, but for the most part, pretty darn linear. It's a clear string of pearls along a single fault. And then we'll look at these ones in a bit, but way over on the west, there's two little pits that were mined out, very high grade, almost quarries of oxide gold. This isn't our map. This is all mapped from, I believe, the government, these different sub-parallel structures, but you can see that they're exactly mimicking the orientation of the gold deposition. And then there's a big range-bound fault that kind of probably controls most of this mineralization. So a lot of it's occurring to the south. And then, again, I'm just going to jump quickly back because we're walking our way backwards through the story. But what's really cool as well, Alan, in following that same orientation of those pits, you have our project, Borealis, you have Hecla's Aurora mine, which did 2 million ounces of high-grade underground. This was a low sulfidation deposit. And then it says Red Cloud on here, but it's called the Bodie mine. But the exact same orientation exists on a regional scale as it does on a local scale, as it does in the drill core scale. So you've probably heard of these happening on a much larger scale as well. These trends are real, and you can see there's the three perfectly linear gold deposits or gold districts almost. And then when you actually look at the property scale, you can see boom, boom, boom.
The
You're going to see
structures
of those
and
deposits. Exactly. You
the
nailed it.
structures associated with the alteration and the mineralization is quite impressive. As you can see there, the Graben deposit, Borealis, they all strike along that fault. And then
Exactly.
you've
Then
got
up
one
over
right
here,
beside it and beside it and beside it.
and
Beside it.
that's so that was my teaser for this next image. So this is a map of grab samples on the property.
Yeah,
Of course, there's no grab samples in that pediment cover.
yeah.
This is the area of the historic pit. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything else is grab samples at surface. And this is all oxide gold at surface. So when we talked about, is there oxide potential? Yes, it's clear as day in front of me. Following the same, again, over here, look at that. Those are screamers. That's better than a gram in oxide gold. And the thing about grab sampling in an oxidized environment is what you're doing when you're oxidizing a rock is you're basically degassing the sulfide via your rainwater is essentially removing the sulfur out of a sulfide and depositing iron, which is rust, which is your oxide, and the previously refractory gold, which was in that sulfide grain, will drop out of the sulfide grain. So when you're actually sampling at surface, your surface samples can be much lower than what your actual deposit will be underneath that initial surface if you're just looking at disseminated gold in a rock. So in my eyes, anything over 50 ppb, parts per billion, sorry. So anything in this orange color would be significant. You get big clusters of it down here. There's a little hill that pops up. This whole ridge, boom. This area, this area. There's those two little quarries actually are right up here. And then there's gold trending along that trend. So there's vast potential for additional discoveries. And I think that, let me show you one more thing, Al, just because we're here and I'm excited about it. Here's two examples of some of the other deposits in the area. So some of the drill results here are staggering. This is a little pod that was mined out in one of those quarries to the west. An example of a hole that was mined in that little quarry is 16 meters of 10 grams per ton gold
In an open
mineralization.
pit. Wow, that's
Bananas,
amazing.
45 of 7 that ends in 7.3 grams per gold. Even the kind of more boring ones, 25 of 3 grams, like just boring because of the colors, and there's not as much red, but you're still seeing beautiful intercepts. So that's on the oxide area. And then,
Those are
oh,
pretty enviable compared to half a gram open pits.
right.
Holy
But
moly.
even on the sulfide front, so this one over here is our is our Graben gold deposit. This is
And Graben sits right beside that pit, right?
yeah, so Graben
Freedom Flats.
kind of funnily mapped. So I think it's part of a feeder system to the whole thing potentially, but certainly I think it's connected to this Freedom Flats because it starts just below it, kind of trends off in a little bit of a different orientation, but it's we're trying to figure it out right now. So we're actively drilling on the Graben zone at the moment to get a better handle on it. But the numbers there are really what drew me into the property. I think when I showed these to Rob, is you could see his eyes pop a little bit, and he's like, this could maybe be a good place to invest.
Some juicy
Uh,
numbers there.
or some of the numbers here are bananas, man. 67 of 16 grams, 41. Actually, this one I highlighted just because it's where the deposit's closed off, and it's still 40 meters of 1.7 grams. Closed off, I would say, not in the slightest. 67 of 6, 115 of 4. And that one's closed off. It's wild what was left in the ground, largely because it was the dirty word, sulfide. And there was thought to be no value. Again, I'm kind of going a tangent here, Alan, but
Okay.
sulfide in our eyes doesn't, it's not, it's a beautiful word if you're looking at 6 gram per ton sulfide, over 50 plus meters. Yes, I'll take that all day, all night.
Yeah.
And there's all you'd need, and the metallurgy's been done because this is a
And
historical
that's
operation.
because the whole mentality of exploration in Nevada has been, for 50 years, has been about oxides, oxides, oxides. So sulfides is, it's not a bad word in mining. That's makes up for great mines,
Yeah,
especially at those grades. 67 meters of 16 grams of gold. Yikes.
spectacular,
115 meters of 4.5. Woo.
spectacular.
Yeah.
And these are replicable. This is not some cherry picked. You can see in the image, it's not me just picking the best of the best. I'm just this is the last one that was drilled in
What's the
section.
scale of that map? I mean, you got
So
widespread.
this is I don't want to misspeak, Alan. I should have put a scale bar on it. I apologize. This is in
Looks like
feet. That's in feet. So honestly, I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around the metric to imperial conversions. This is
okay.
it's about 110 meters from surface down to this point.
Okay, so let's say 100, like
Oh,
that's
there we go. There,
four.
so this stretch here is 115 meters. So that's our scale.
Okay,
So we're looking at about a 500-meter strike length open gold deposit,
open this way, that way, and at depth.
and also in and out of the page as well.
Okay, wow.
So it's yeah, it's and yeah, open at depth, open along. It's open. It was the thing that intrigued me absolutely. And the guys at Earth Labs or they own CEO.ca, they've got Denis Laviolette there, who's he loves high grade big systems, and we showed this to him, and he's like, man, I'm in. So it's one of their bigger positions, Borealis, in Earth Labs. I won't say what they wrote, but it was a good chunk of money. Um,
Yeah,
big chunk
Denny's
of money.
no
Thank you.
dummy. He's the brains behind Newfound Gold, and they found a lot of gold.
Yeah, they honestly, I love those guys. Matt, CJ, Denis, they've been yeah, really, really good supporters of ours, and thank
They
you very
can't
much.
help themselves but talk about it on their shows.
I love it. I just sit there waiting. When are we going public? When are we going public? But they're excited, and honestly, once we start getting stuff out to the market, I think everyone will be excited. Alan, I don't want to speak. You can never know what's going to happen, and every CEO's job is to say this is the best thing ever. But this is the best thing ever.
Kelly,
Uh,
the
so let me go back to I actually, this is a photo I took of a gold pour. I'll stop with the presentation. I'll go back to the verify like you
no,
wanted.
no,
So
you go ahead. I'm gonna find something here I want to ask you about.
okay, well this is a photo that I took of the first gold pour on acquisition. One of the coolest moments I've had in my career. Um, it's a fully operational project, and I'll show you what that looks like in verify. So let
Hey
me pull it up.
Kelly,
Yes, sir.
I've got this paper that it's on the top of my desk in front of my computer
Mhm.
screen. And one of the holes at that
And that's
grab,
that's the one that was written by the guys about the grab-in deposit, correct?
no, geology of the high sulfidation graben. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. Perfect.
So I see a portion of a hole that I think it was the only hole that got down into the quartz pyrite. And it seems to be striking, or the hole was parallel to a fault.
Yeah.
And in that hole, it hit 29.4 meters of 6.3 grams, but it also had 2.3 meters of 41 grams.
Mhm.
The only hole into that quartz pyrite do I have that right?
Yeah, there's a few of them like that, Alan. So that is the feeder system, or what we suppose is the feeder system to that system. So the reason that they're saying this is Yanacocha like is so that's really what that paper is comparing. I love that paper. That's the one that talks about the fact that it's a 21 by 7 mile alteration system. They've mapped it out as one of the biggest.
Largest in Nevada.
Nice. They said it. I didn't say it, but I'm happy they
Okay.
said it because now I can say it.
Yeah.
So the the really cool thing that they've identified is those feeder systems. And Yanacocha, if you look at the actual geology of it, it's a beautiful high sulfidation, rich ounce plus on occasion gold mine. And it occurs, there's a big alteration halo with a gold associated gold anomaly with that big halo, and then you get these kind of shoots, and that's where the money is. And the previous geologist,
Kind
I
of
believe,
describing Borealis there.
I'm describing his paper, and he's also
Yeah,
describing it's beautiful. And then
yeah.
there's also geophysical signatures that are similar. There's these big spherical magnetic rings, and you get your deposits kind of forming on the margins of those rings, and that could be an indicator of the deep-seated chutes or breccias or areas of fluid flow. Yeah, that was, I think the paper was written by a guy, Steve Craig, who was the previous VP exploration. Um, and reading through I've not met the man yet, but I'd like to. Reading through a lot of his old papers and documents, you can certainly see that he
It's
had an eye for
the
the
authors
sulfide
are
system.
Roger Steininger and
Yep.
Donald Ranta.
Okay, so I think they were just before Steve.
Okay.
But people that the geos that have worked the project have been keen on this uh pipe-like system for quite some time, and it was probably just, you know how it is. It's sometimes corporately you can't always go chasing the best geological ideas, because sometimes it just doesn't work in the market or marketing or how you raise the money. You're sometimes um beholden to
And
shareholders, right? That's how
the
it goes
focus
sometimes.
at that time was probably on the production, the oxides. So
Exactly.
you try to convince your board, oh, let's go deeper into the system. And they say, well, why? It's right at the surface. Let's get into mining. But
I've watched some old videos too. We didn't even talk about the history of this thing. Maybe we'll do that another time, but because it's a long history. But I've watched a video of the old CEO that owned the project in 2011, and he virtually said exactly what you just said. Our goal is to get this in production, get it going. Cash flow from the mine will then finance deeper exploration, including our high-grade sulfide targets at depth. The problem with that as a business plan is
It sounds good on paper.
it sounds good on paper, but mining's hard. You need capital, you need cash, you need a significant mat, or what, I can't even think of the term. I'm thinking gymnastics and the guy falling off the balance beam.
Yeah.
Like a cushion. Like, oh gosh, you need a significant cushion to operate these things because things
And
break.
it's kind of like you have a dual focus, right? You've got
Yeah.
one guy wanting one part of the team, and you never know who has the most power, is
Mhm.
pushing towards the production. The other guy's saying, well, yeah, but it could be Yanacocha below there. Let's get after that too.
So we're doing absolutely both. So we
That's
will be.
perfect.
I can't promise this. It's not confirmed, not approved by anyone. We don't even have the final drawings, but we do intend to resume production. The reason that we can go into production is because everything's built, Alan. We bought in 2011. The previous operators built everything. You just saw a picture of me watching a gold pour. This is a fully everything is done. So it's a couple $1,000,000 to get this thing back up and running. And we've got the
Because
mining
it's
expertise we have on our
permitted,
board is crazy.
it's completely permitted. You've got the facility to process the material. It's plug and
We
play.
will be pouring gold. I can absolutely assure you that we will be pouring gold. I can't at all speak to the numbers that we'll be producing, but within the very near term, I would say next month or so, we're going to start pouring on a semi-regular basis.
And that's from the existing pad, right?
Yeah, so we've got, let me pull up now. Now you just built a beautiful. Do you want to go through this now, Alan, or do you want
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so great segue. So, okay, Freedom Flats, beautiful. Other pit under here, Borealis. We'll look at these other pits right. Actually, let's look at them right now, Alan. So we're into Freedom Flats. We're inside Freedom Flats. You can see how nicely structurally controlled this thing is. You've got your kaolinite alteration. You've got your deep oxide mineralization. There's gold in both, although the higher grade stuff is within this
And
Oxide
I,
Ridge.
I forgot to tell you, Kelly, after reading that paper, I went to the Yanacocha and I looked at some images on Google. And some of this could be from Yanacocha.
Yeah.
People go look at Google. Don't
No, no,
believe
no.
my
I'm
homework.
not saying it. You're saying it, but it's not. You're not wrong.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
just go do a Google search for Yanacocha images, and it looks like this.
it'll look pretty darn similar. So
Yeah,
this is the other side of the pit.
look at all that
You can
alteration,
see the
man.
oxide, the alteration, the beautiful alteration. The other pit, actually, let's go to the other pit just because it's prettier in terms of alteration profile. I should have done one where I zoomed in, but this one is spectacular for the alteration sequence. So the ore kind of strikes along here, and you get your beautiful clay alteration. The ore continues striking up the wall of the
Oh
face
yeah,
here.
and look at right in
See it
between.
in the road cut. There's a couple drill holes here, and then you get your other pit up top here. Um, this is a beautiful pit. Actually, this waste rock dump I love for the alteration because you can see what's good and what's bad. So there's your so we'll do this. So there's our heap leach pad, and there's our stockpile all red, and then there's the white, not necessarily barren, but significantly lesser mineralized, but extremely altered rock. And this was from recent mining. Um, but there's plenty of ore left in this. When we zoom in a bit, if I zoom in, I can't really zoom in much. Can you see that on the
Yeah,
pattern that's present? Those
yep.
are actually blast holes that have been drilled and never blasted.
Oh,
This is an access road into the pit. This is the waste rock dump
from the pit.
to from the pit. This is the haul road to there's another this is another waste rock dump here, I believe.
Actually, just
There's,
stop there for a
yep,
second,
sorry.
Kelly, because sometimes in these, when you're in a hurry to bring a project into production, the work is not let's say, to be kind, not the best.
Mhm.
And the lower left of the page there,
Yeah, it
you
makes me angry every time I look at this.
you can see some of the lack of quality of work. That's oxides that's material that's been spilled over the edge of a
God.
road,
Yeah.
and you'd love to have that on the pad.
And Alan, if you can see my cursor, my office is right here. And actually, I drive into site every morning and when I'm up there, and it stares me in the face and makes me so upset every time I see that.
Not to worry, Kelly, there's more of that below, in the rocks there below.
I know, but anyways, but that's whatever. It didn't.
But to me, it's indicative of a project that was brought into production fast, trying to, and maybe cutting corners or
Well,
going out of.
absolutely, they were corners cut. This went into production with a pre-feasibility study. They didn't complete a feasibility study on it, and that's a corner. And I was speaking of Tony McCooch, someone recently about it, and we couldn't think of a single example where fast tracking and skipping that step has ever been a good idea. I've seen projects that go PEA to feasibility study, and they
I
skip the
think the only
pre-feasibility
one
study
that
step.
comes to my mind is Pretium in the Golden Triangle. And they had issues
They
because of
had
it,
big issues, I think, because of that exactly. They
but
they they made
it,
it just because their mine was so spectacular. It's hard to fail.
yeah, exactly.
Hard to fail on one of the best discoveries of the last 40
But
years.
point well taken. It's
Yeah.
95% or even more percent of the time you skip that step, you run into big problems.
Yeah, and it seems great when someone says, "We're going to finance you. Let's get into production now. Gold's looking good." So we could have been producing from this a while ago, but we decided not to. We're still not confirming that we're going to, although we are going to be. I'll show you what we're going to be getting gold from. But in terms of actually resuming production, blasting rock, we're being very, very diligent, very cautious, and doing a lot of engineering homework. We don't have to do a feasibility study or a bankable feasibility study because we don't need to go to the bank because it's already paid for. But we we've got, like, look at our board. These guys don't want to be an embarrassment.
So you're
We
going to
will
do
get
your homework.
we will do our homework, and it will be reviewed by our technical team and committee before we give it a production decision.
Got it.
Before I move on here, Alan, because I want to talk about the heap leach pad in production.
Oh, just
This is the
stop
one that
there
you and I
for a
love,
second.
this image.
There, I love this image. Look at all that alteration.
Yeah, it's spectacular.
Widespread all over the place.
So this is exactly subparallel and one of those trends that were identified in the geological map we looked at earlier.
Right beside a fault.
It's right. It is a fault. The fault runs just beside that range, and then there's grab samples all at the top of the ridge. Very little drilling. You can see a little ring of drilling right around here, and then a little bit just up around here. This whole ridge undrilled. This one is, I call it Oxide Ridge. This is my dream. I think that there's potential certainly to replicate what's been found already if we can find anything. And then guess what? As I mentioned before, follow that trend down, and guess what happens? It goes undercover.
Yeah.
In the exact same capacity as this one. So
So all of
there's
that,
another trend
so
over here, same thing. But
not
there's
only is that ridge of alteration wide open, but then as you go down into cover, it's wide open as well. It even gives you some targeting there because you can follow the fault going down undercover.
yeah, I agree.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
not nothing's that simple, but it is that simple, I think. We'll see when we get the drills to it, but I'm really excited to start.
So
Uh,
from an exploration perspective, you got the graben sulfides right beside the best pit,
mhm.
but then you've got a whole runway of other targets to get
Oh
after as
man, we've
well.
got so they'll I would call these my second, maybe even third, compared to what we have right in front of us right now in terms
But
of.
even in the ridge right beside it, there's
Yeah, you can see
another.
again, it continues. Let me jump over here. Okay, we'll go back to the gold production in a second. I'll just want to show you on on the exploration front what we can see visually right now. So So there's that, what I call Oxide Ridge right here.
Yeah,
So there's where we just were. We were looking at Northeast Ridge, this pit. We were looking at this trend right here.
yeah,
There's another one directly adjacent to it that shows moderately well. You can see the oxidation present in this ridge now too.
yeah.
Um, I
Over
just took this
there.
picture and I put it in verify. If it ever loads,
Sometimes verify is a little slow.
it gets a little buggy sometimes. Looks like I've crashed it.
Uh-oh.
Let me see if I can restart or reload that.
And you know, it's not lost on me, Kelly, that in combination to that big alteration zone, that just the only place they followed that alteration slightly into slightly covered is where they had the best pit. So you've
Yep.
got a whole runway there of all the alteration in the hill and then everything down beside it.
Yeah. What we're looking at right now is our plan for the summer. So gonna get a bunch of students. Especially because my whole management team met together as students sampling soil together. We're going to do a big soil sampling program over the pediment. We're just trying to look at the best ways to look for buried discoveries, because what I'm a little bit hesitant about, this is just a geo nerd thing, but and just something that's been going through my head, is this overburden, Alan, is derived from where? It's derived from these mountains.
Yeah.
These mountains, as we saw earlier in the grab sampling map, all have gold in them.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit, I'm trying to figure out a way that somehow can see through what could potentially be gold bearing overburden. Do you know what I mean? If it's coming off of that
Ah,
mountain ridge, that ridge is mineralized in gold. The overburden might be giving us false anomalies in terms of targeting. But that's a digression
so
on
is there a possibility that you could get in there with auger holes and get down to the bedrock?
yeah, possibly, that's certainly something that we've thought about. It's not, so I'll go back into this picture just to show you. It's
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of silicified. It's not just like a sand. So these walls or these benches are made in the pediment. So
So
it's a
you're
hard
20 meters.
material,
Yeah.
but you touch it with a tool or touch it with a hammer, it falls apart. It's like when you go to the beach and there's that crumbly sort of sandstone. That would be the same idea. So it's not as, you can't just auger into it, but we're looking at alternatives to just go test different areas and kind
Be
of go.
especially interesting to get right along the projection of those faults
Yeah.
into the,
Oh yeah, just if I go back to the site overview, literally just we'll just use this trend for example, but you just go 180 and go. You can see they did that with a few holes, 1, 2, 3, 4,
oh,
5,
yeah,
6,
yeah, yeah.
doing exactly what you're saying. And actually, there's some snips of gold in some of those. So that's a real possibility, but I think that's a really smart idea and has not been done anywhere else over here.
Wow.
So the image I was trying to show you before. So here's a trend of 2 million ounces of historical resources plus another 2.5 million ounces almost in historical resources. Largely in this trend here, untested, untested. Here's this one that I was trying to get loaded before, and it doesn't want to load. Oh,
I can see, I mean, I can see the alteration over there at
I know, but there,
exploration.
anyways, there was a big outcrop ridge of oxide. But anyways, we'll move on. It's funny, I gotta talk to Aaron.
So you've got a, I mean, you've got wide open exploration, not just on a overall picture, but even right where that graben deposit, that graben target is.
Yeah,
And then, and then you've got endless targets, uh, along the alteration, zone.
absolutely.
Hmm. And that's the pad.
This is the leach pad. So this is active. We're continually putting solution on it. We've poured gold twice since we acquired the operation. You can see the thing that's really fun is this part of the pad right here.
Yeah.
We've never put no one's ever put fresh cyanide on that. So we're going to do that beginning around May 1st. So coming up very quickly. So we should recover some really nice gold out of that. And then this whole pile over here is a big stockpile from historical mining of about 400,000 tons. We've got 10 tons of that in at a place called McClelland Labs, doing a big bulk sample for both metallurgy purposes, but also for contained grade. We took basically 1 ton from 10 different spots around that stockpile to get a representative grade, provided it comes back as expected, which we kind of know what it will come back like. We intend to bring a crusher onto site, crush that up, stack it on the pad, start producing gold. So that's part of how we're going to have this cycle of gold, and it's not going to be huge scale. We're not going to be doing 300,000 ounces a year out of here, but I think
But
if we
it's
can
free
actually
money.
generate revenue,
It's
that's
free.
something that very few people can do. Even watching I-80 when they do their quarterly 3,000 ounces or whatever they did the last quarter, that's money in the bank that wasn't there before. And in this gold market, I want to take that gold out of the ground as quickly as I can.
Whoa, at $2,400 an ounce gold, you're damn right you do. That's
Yeah.
free money.
Yep. And this the other cool thing about Borealis is that it's a because it's fully permitted, we have to keep our plant running 24/7. So that ain't cheap. We've got a staff on site 24/7. That thing is running nonstop. We'll take a look at the plant too before we dip out here. But this thing is it's an active chemical processing facility. We've got our various ponds, our preg pond, barren pond, and stormwater pond. We've got cyanide, caustic, propane, our carbon leach columns. We've got a lab on site, which is really cool, and we're rehabbing that right now. I just approved the bill to get that up and running. Um, oh gosh, inside the plant, it's in great working order. Obviously, if we can pour gold bars, it works. It was just poured or just built in around 2011, and those are the bars that we poured in.
Actually looks like it's still new, Kelly.
It's we may have given it a yellow paint job, Alan, to make it look a little better, but it needs honestly all it needs, if you look at the walls, it needs some insulation. You can see it's kind of raggedy there. Otherwise it's in really, really great shape. It's
Your
in
yellow paint reminds me, my business mentor was Dave Ritchie from Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers.
yeah.
And his son is one of my best friends. And Dave and I used to love to play crib together. And I think I got a PhD in business from one of the smartest businessmen in all of Canada. But
Cool.
that's what his business was. He'd take used equipment, put a nice paint job on it, fix it up, and sell it, and make lots of money. So you reminded me of one of my great mentors in business, Dave Ritchie.
Well, this was actually the paint's actually quite funny. We had my first ever site visit. We brought some of the board, some of our big kind of founding investors in, and a prospective big investor that was looking to play. And it was our first time on site, so it was make this place look looking good. So they painted this all up, but they put this paint on, but didn't realize that you had to spray a settling agent, a drying agent on it afterwards, because the construction paint, you put it in and then it goes to sit in all the different crevices. Everyone on the team everyone on the tour,
Oh.
they found the agent, they sprayed some spots but missed a bunch. We were all covered in yellow paint by the time we went home. So the
But
paint
even
job worked,
looking at
but
all this steel and everything looks like in great shape.
yeah, like it's all modern electrical. Like there's our very high voltage panel. If we go outside of the plant, you can see we've got our oh, you can't see it from here. We've got our substation over here. So that's Nevada Energy Power. Core shacks over here, office building over there.
And that's just something that, you know, trying to bring a project into production these days, Kelly, the price
Huh.
tag usually starts at about $1 billion, where the mines are these days.
Yeah,
And
this whole setup, Alan, wouldn't be that much you're probably looking at, if you had to build, we were trying to calculate that, but I don't disagree with you in the slightest. So if you were trying to build what we have there, including, I won't count drilling and exploration as part of it, but let's say you found this or you bought it and it had no power. I'll even consider the roads as built because they would have been built to a degree um, in the exploration phase. But to bring your power line all the way from Hawthorne, build your substation, to get your water wells drilled, to get your permits for water, for crushing rock, which is actually one of the most challenging permits now in Nevada to get because of the potential pollution that crushing silicates can bring. Our cyanide permit, building our ADR facility, the amount of concrete that you poured to build that thing, building those ponds, permitting the heap leach pads, you're probably in the order of about 80 to 90 million dollars US, if not more, into like 120 US.
Yeah, but Kelly, that's in a perfect environment.
That's in this exact environment, yes.
Okay,
In
now
a
go
perfect
put that
place.
up into the Andes.
Good luck, yeah. You're that's where you see 1 billion, 2 billion.
Exactly. So that's my
Yeah,
point, is that, you know, we need more gold production in the gold mining space, but they got
like
long permitting processes, lower grade, you know, cost to build mines. You're kind of, you're kind of in a perfect storm with what's happening with the gold price, and then having this ability to go into production with everything built and ready to roll.
one of the really cool things, I agree with you exactly about that, is the fact that we have the ADR facility. We've got all the power on site. One of our business strategies will be acquisition of projects. We're not we don't want to be a single project company. There's a number of beautiful assets. You just saw McEwen Mining acquire Timberline yesterday.
Yep.
Um, there's great projects out there that have been struggling with capital for a while or struggling with market conditions. But something that's really interesting, if we're able to get some deals done, which I think we will, based on all the great things we talked about at the beginning of the call. The neat thing is, let's say you bought, I'll just pick a 500,000 ounce gold deposit, for example. So 5,000 ounces of heap leachable gold in Nevada. So not a small
No
deposit.
major's gonna care about it, no mid-tier's gonna care about it.
Exactly. So there's well, funny, the one that McEwen Mining bought was about 500,000, but that has huge potential for additional deposits.
Yeah, there's a big geophysical anomaly, all
Yeah,
the,
there's lots going on. I agree.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's a it's a big, way different beast than just that 500,000 ounces that they have, which is why he paid an equivalent of $53 an ounce for it, which um is probably a bit high for that type of deposit on its own, because there's deposits trading at $10 an ounce in Nevada right now, with the
But
same size.
what's left there going towards that big geophysical anomaly looks,
Oh, I'm really not knocking it at all. I just brought it up. I think it was a great buy.
yeah,
Um, So yeah, let's use a 500,000 ounce deposit, for example. There's very few majors, like you said, no, very few mid tiers that would bother putting that into production, because it's not going to really help their balance sheet. It's not going to be a material impact to what they're doing. Maybe they can pull out 30, 40, 50,000 ounces a year. Really not going to do much for us. Let's again, very hypothetical. Imagine we could do 25 to 50,000 ounces a year at a Borealis with what we have in front of us. You add another 25 to 50,000 ounces, you become pretty darn close to
100,000.
100,000 ounces. You would do
Yeah.
that one more time, you're almost in mid-tier gold producer or junior gold producer. You're in a real gold production company. But again, I'm very sidetracked today, Allan. My bad.
Okay.
But what you can do is, because we have all the infrastructure in place, we've got the power, the ADR facility, we can pour the gold. All you'd have to do, and let's say you had this 500,000 ounce heap leachable deposit, you would have to permit a quarry for the pits. You'd have to permit running a diesel generator, which I don't even think you need a permit for. So you wouldn't have to build power to site. You'd put in a pond, like we just showed, just one of those ponds that I just showed you earlier, and a heap leach pad and a single train of 5 carbon columns. And that would be sufficient to, and that you can do that for like 20, 30 million bucks. And all you'd have to do is ship the loaded carbon to Borealis. We'd process it on site, pour the gold on site, and wouldn't have to build a 40+ million dollar plant. So on these smaller projects, which are not huge moneymakers, they're marginal to many people, cutting that big chunk of capex out of something that maybe you're only going to get $200-300 million out of the ground, if you can cut down your capital costs from 75 to 80 million dollars, which probably you wouldn't even bother building it at that point. If you can cut that to 20, that becomes a pretty screaming buy for us. So there's really cool
You
opportunities
know,
out there.
what you just touched on there is a growth plan that Silvercrest is talking about it for their Las Chispas mine. I was listening to their president talking about that they think they can grow their resources on their own property, but then they're looking at satellites because, okay, when it comes to their own property, you
Yeah.
don't have that big threshold of economics to jump over because you've already got it built. So they're looking at on their own projects, but then satellite projects within they call it their 30, 60, and 90 kilometer plan. So
Okay,
they're
cool.
looking at projects 30 kilometers, 60 kilometers, and 90 kilometers to bring it to their plan.
And there
For the,
must be some sort of grade and size thresholds for
of course, but
each of
you
those things
don't
to
have
jump across.
you don't have that big capex
Mhm.
to justify. You just bring it to the plant.
They've already spent what did that cost them? 800 million dollars? Is that right?
I can't remember what it cost them. I know
It
they
wasn't
went
it
into
wasn't disgusting. I remember that. It wasn't like a $3 billion project.
yeah, exactly.
But it's built and it's making money, so why wouldn't you make more money?
And what you're describing there, Kelly, is sometimes I think investors and even management in companies in the mining space, they look at it as, well, will this move our stock valuation? And they don't really they think of it more as the businesses to move their stock valuation than to build a company.
Yeah.
And that creates a vacuum. And, you're kind of, if you're the only guy going into something that's needed, it opens up a whole big windows of opportunity.
Yeah, I'm with you. And really the cool thing about our business plan, I would probably we can shut it down at some point, but one of the cool things to touch on as well is what we're looking to do, and it's something you just mentioned, is actually build a business. We want to build a company that makes money. We're not looking to build a takeover, which is a great strategy. It makes people, lots of people have become very, 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 very wealthy doing just that. But I think there's an appetite in the market, and we certainly have that appetite to build something that many people aren't actively doing, which is try to make money in the gold industry. So we want to be, I would say, within 5 years, a real gold player, like actually producing and generating
Significant.
cash,
Yep.
and hopefully sizable cash.
Well, I love the business plan. I love the project. I love your team. Kelly, you've done a wonderful job of building a private company. I can't wait till it goes public, and we'll see where it takes us from there.
Me too, buddy. And thanks so much for all the support. It's been very helpful, and glad you're a shareholder, and can't wait to see where it trades.
Yep. And as always, wherever I can help, I'll be there for you, Kelly. I try to attach myself to really smart people, and it's been a while since I had somebody close to work with. One of my past sort of business partners, he passed away much too young, and Bob Singh and I and Scott Weeks, we all worked very close together, and Bob went on to big success, and I got very similar feelings about you, Kelly. So I'm really stoked to be involved with this company, and I think we're going to do some great things together.
Thanks, brother. Much appreciated.
All righty, man. I'm going to close it off, and next time we got to talk to your COO and
Yes.
your resource guy. And
Yes.
I could talk to you for hours, Kelly. This is a lot of fun, man.
Cool, buddy. Well, yeah, when you let me know and we'll do it.
Okay, I'm gonna close it off. I'll talk to you at the other end there.
Yep.
So there you go, folks. Borealis, I've talked about him as an unnamed pick in past reports. Well, here's the pick. And I'm very much looking forward to their future. Do your homework, check the company out. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.